ATL Jacob makes some of the hardest beats in the game, and this sound influenced today's trap scene, especially with his work with Future on I Never Liked You and The Wizard. So today we're going to take a deep dive into all the production techniques used behind the best ATL Jacob's beats, and use them to make a beat from scratch. And learning his unique style will level up your beats. He also got some of the hardest to hit patterns, so let's get into it. One thing that defines ATL Jacob's sound are his repetitive and catchy melodies. They feel bouncy and they never get boring. And to obtain these, there are some steps we can follow. First, we need to find the right sound. That is really important to start in the right way. And ATL Jacob loves to use synth bells. For our beat, I'm going to open Riffle, because it's good for this type of stuff. But this one is crazy. I like this sound because it has a unique tone, and I feel like it matches the vibe of these art trap beats. Now we can create a melody. First we gotta select a scale, let's go with E minor. And in our beats, the less notes we use, the better it is. We can just find fast motif that works really good and loop it. And make sure to play around with these two notes that are close together in the scale. As you can see, they are highlighted. And they create tension as always in these beats. Okay, that's a fire starting point, but ATL Jacob's melodies all have one thing in common. They use creative effects, especially they like to reverse some stuff. This reverse part makes the melody a lot more interesting and bouncy that will work well also with the drums, but still sounding like a one thing. And to add reverse parts and rolls, we can use plugins like motions, effect tricks, there are a lot of them, but I want to show you a trick that we can use in the playlist. We could flip this with Alt Y and flip it horizontally. And render it. And now we can reverse it, so it's gonna still have the old progression. And we could do something like that. And let's pitch them both down one semitone. Yeah, that's fire! We can add some reverb on it, just to blend the two parts together. Okay, now our main melody sounds fire, but another important element for these ATL Jacob beats are those trippy alien textures.
ATL Jacob, he a fucking millionaire.
These are adding variation to the sample and make it sound fuller and also a bit more unique. Adding something like that is really easy. I'm going to open Analog Lab or something and search for the air pad. And you already know it's gonna be fire for a texture. Without adding too many notes, play with the 5th note of the scale and the first one. Okay, we need to mix this. When they play together, we can't really distinguish the two melodies, and that's good, but this texture needs its own space, so let's add Penman. So now we can push it in the background, but it's gonna still be heard. Okay, our sample is starting to sound full, but ATL Jacob often uses a different type of arrangement that makes the beat feel like it's always evolving. And let's use Messaging Me as an example. He starts with 16 bars of the main melody. Then he switches it up using a B melody that works perfectly after the main melody. They need to match the mood, if you know what I mean. Yeah, you heard the fade out, it's crazy. And after this B part, he joins the A and B part together. So for our beat, we still need a B part that sounds in line with what we already made. So let's find a similar bell, and since we used Riffle, let's open Riffle again. Let's use a preset like that. And we can use the same notes we use, so we use these ones, but with a different rhythm, so let's go faster. Yeah, this bell always works, man. The difference between this sound and the other one is that this one blends well with the main sound we have, because yeah, we're going to have the A and B part together later. Oh, and by the way, Riffle is a crazy VST, and with this multi-key system, every time you press a note, it plays a different sound. So also with a really simple progression and melody, it sounds like it's alive. If you want to check it out, the link is in the description, and make sure to use the code ATL Jacob for a 20% off. But let's get back into it. But that's a bit boring, so let's make this interesting. We can start with motions. So now it has more bounce, and we can add something like the crystallizer that is going to add a pitched up delay. This is an effect that works perfectly in this type of beats. And we can tweak it, instead to pitch it down, reverse it. And let's see with the main melody. Yeah, they blend good. So just to finish real quick the arrangement, the A part for 16 bars, and then the A part and B part together. Okay, that's really good. Our melody is bouncy hard and the arrangement is interesting. But our beat is missing a crazy intro like the one in Keep It Burning. That intro works perfectly to hook people in and set the hard vibe. To obtain it, they changed the progression with a more emotional, trippy vibe, so that then when we switch to the hard beat, it's gonna sound even better. Then they added a crazy vocal that creates that ambience. So let's have our melodies, and first we can change the progression. Let's go with a piano, and this is our root note. But in Keep It Burning, they use the progression like this. They start with the 6th, then I think the 5th, and then the 1st. That sounds fire. Try to change it. And we can follow the same notes with a bass. Now we are missing the vocals, so let's go splice. Yeah, that's crazy, man. The third thing ATL Jacob did to make the intro crazy is adding effects on the whole sample. In fact, we have that granulizer effect that makes the melody sound a lot more unique. So I linked all the melodies to a melody bus using this arrow here. I moved the mix all the way up, so now we can add some effects on the crystallizer. And add some reverb. And maybe remove some of this really high end. And let's render this for all the beat, why not? Okay, and from here we can still have it, but in a lower volume. So yeah, we have some random textures going on throughout the beat, but it isn't making it too complex. And with this effect, now it has more of that dark ATL Jacob vibe. But now it's time for the drums, and that's where ATL Jacob really flips the script. In fact, starting with the main clap, he likes to create crazy bounce. And this will be the normal pattern. But he'll also use spots like this too. Or also this one at the end. So let's play around with them. Okay, that's bouncy. Pay attention that these kind of patterns do make the beat more difficult to rap on. Okay, that's good, but the bounce is not given only by the main snare, but also by a counter snare that he uses a lot. With this we can fill the gaps. Yeah, you see? That way we create bounce. Now the second important element are the hi-hats, and he goes crazy with them too. In this particular beat, he uses a lot of rolls after he creates bounce with the clap. So for now, let's fill each 2 steps. For example, we don't have nothing at the start, so we can add a roll here. I use 1/3 step. Also here at the end we don't have anything, so let's add another one. Now we don't have to overcomplicate it, just create some variation. And maybe use also lower rolls, since also ATL Jacob did that. And we can randomize everything so they have more bounce. So we are locking in a fire bounce now. The next sound is gonna be the open hat, and he uses it to add even more energy.
And I switch my wrist up, switch my car, switch my bitch up. Every time I hit her, I broke.
In that case, he played it with the 808, so we need one at the start. Yeah, also something repetitive like that. One before the clap. and one at the start. And now it's finally time for the 808. In fact, ATL Jacob has a unique 808 sound. And let's take Keep It Burning for example. First of all, he uses multiple patterns, some are crazy and some are more simple. He uses different notes that are not only the root note, and he got some crazy rolls at the end. But the most important thing is the sound. So they used an 808 like that, but without that initial click. So let's go to the envelope and remove it. Now it's a lot less punchy, but it still hits. And if you really do wanna go crazy, you can add also some fast distortion. Here I went to use the 6th note of the scale. Make sure that the notes you use are still in the scale. And here at the end we can do the classic trick of going down with the scale. And if you want to go really crazy at the end, we can use triplets. So use 1/3 beat and we can copy it.